morning. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here. I want to spend the next hour and 10 minutes with you talking about a very, very simple idea. And the idea is that as leaders in your business, you can be multipliers. And what that means is you can use your intelligence and your capability to make everyone around you smarter. And I'd like to challenge you that perhaps this isn't just one of the roles that you play as a leader, but perhaps this is the most important role you play in growing and scaling your business. It's an idea that we've explored. We've done 2 years of research, studied 150 leaders to explore this. We've written about it in the book Multipliers. Harvard Business Review published an article last May, and there's probably about 13 other articles that you can find access to exploring this idea that leaders can be multipliers. This idea started with a very simple question. It started with the question of why is it that we're smart and capable around some leaders and not around others? And this is a question that I began to ask at Oracle, where I was surrounded by brilliant executives. And I watched how some of those executives created genius everywhere they went. And other executives had this way of dumbing people down. Their need to be the smartest person in the room stifled intelligence in others. Why don't we go ahead and explore this question and an overview of the idea in the video, Tim?
What is the fate of the smart and the talented? The corporate world finds smart, talented people and promotes them into management. But many of these leaders never look beyond their own capability to see the full genius on their team. Have you ever worked around someone who made you feel smarter and more capable? We call these leaders multipliers. Have you ever worked around someone who made you question your own intelligence? We call these leaders diminishers. They may hire smart people, but they quickly put other people in the background. They are smart leaders, but they shut down the smarts of others. Diminishers come at such a high cost, they waste talent and intellect that sits right in front of them. Organizations can't afford diminishers. I worked in senior management at Oracle for 17 years, and I worked around a lot of really smart executives. I saw how some leaders literally shut down brain power in the people around them. Yet other leaders seem to amplify the intelligence of the people around them. These leaders were multipliers, intelligence multipliers. I saw this pattern with other executives, and I was determined to research this to find out why. My first discovery was my research partner, Greg McEwen, at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Together, we studied 150 leaders in 35 companies over 4 continents in pursuit of one really big question. Why do some leaders drain intelligence while others amplify it?
So what did we find? We found that diminishers and multipliers did many things alike, but a small number of things differently. 5 in particular. Multipliers act as talent magnets, liberators, challengers, debate makers, and investors. Multipliers get so much brain power from their people that the workforce is essentially doubled for free.
Multipliers come from all walks of life, from corporate boardrooms to our school's classrooms. They are leaders like Lut Ziob, Bill Campbell, Wangari Maathai, and many more. These people are real, and the way they lead can be learned and it can be developed. What would happen in your organization if you operated more like a multiplier? Imagine what is possible with access to all the intelligence that sits in your organization.
So why is this an important message? We think this is an important message because it's a message about our current business climate. This is a message about utilization. It's about why some leaders get more from other people than other leaders. It's about leaders who get more for a very simple reason. You could skip the book, you could tune me out, and all you really need to know is these multipliers get more simply because they ask for more. They see latent talent inside their organization. They see unused brain power. And they get it because they ask for it. They ask people to do hard things, things they've never done before, things they've never contemplated before. These multipliers don't look out at their organization and see what other people see, is a sea of overworked people. They realize that people can be overworked, but perhaps deeply underutilized. How can you be overworked and underutilized? How? Shout it out. Working hard, not smart. Why else? How could you be overworked but underutilized? You're doing the wrong kind of work, inefficient processes. Perhaps you're doing a lot of easy work. I would say the only people who get smarter by doing more of the same kind of thing are knife jugglers. You know, throw more knives at them and they get better. But for the rest of us, we're doing too much of the same kind of work. They ask people to do hard work. They realize that you can be extremely busy, but deeply bored. We found in our research these multipliers, they don't get a little bit more from other people. They get vastly more, twice the capability from the people around them. Not only is this a message about utilization of brain power, but it's a message about access. We live in a world where the knowledge we need to do our jobs and to run our companies no longer sits inside our head, it no longer sits in front of us, and most likely it does not sit inside your company. Today's leaders can't get by with what they know. They need to get access to what other people know. C.K. Prahalad, the famed management strategist and guru, who was also my career-long mentor, when he looked at this research, he said, Liz, this is an important idea, and this is why. Because the critical skill of the next century is not what you know, it's how fast can you access what other people know. This is the critical skill going forward. Vern mentioned Steve Johnson's book, Emergence. This brilliant book made this very astute conclusion as he studied social organisms, he studied companies, he studied ant farms, software development. He made the conclusion that the organization that can access the greatest number of brains will win in the marketplace. When we live in a world and an age of distributed intelligence, it's all about how much brain power can you access, getting outside of your head and accessing the brain power that exists around you. This is also a message about scale and growth. My guess here is every person in this room knows the guy on the right. Yes? Everyone knows it. How many people know the guy on the left? Just by show of hands, how many people recognize the guy on the left? One. Vern, you don't count. Okay, who is this? This is Tim Cook. This is Tim Cook, the COO of Apple, often a behind-the-scenes player. Right now, he's playing a visible role. He stepped in as the CEO, filling in for Steve, as Steve is sick again. Tim Cook is a brilliant multiplier, and he is the person inside of Apple who's charged with scaling and managing Apple's meteoric growth. Now, I spend a lot of time down at Apple. I've had the good fortune of working with Tim and coaching a number of executives on his management team. Tim told me his experience opening up one of his annual budget reviews. Tim sits down with his entire management team, and he reminds them that the imperative for the fiscal year is growth, growth in the double digits. Okay, is that surprising anyone on his management team? No. But he shocked his management team a couple years ago when he said, we're going to achieve this growth, and we're going to do it without adding an additional head into our sales organization. Well, you can imagine the stunned silence that fell across his sales executives. And they said, well, this can't be done. And he said, how do we get top-line revenue growth without any additional resources? One particular executive could not get his head around this idea. He said, Tim, everyone knows more revenue equals more headcount. We all know this. I will give you that double-digit growth, which is a very large number for a $60 billion firm, He says, I will give you that double-digit growth, but let's follow proven linear models. You want a certain amount of sales growth, then we drop in the resources. What do you add to get that kind of sales growth? You need more. Shout it out.